All right. Well, hello again. It's Foghorn with another installment of Flight School Academics for this, the 4th of January, 2955, or 2025 if you're stuck in the past by 930 years. This presentation is part of an ongoing series of academics for the members of the Aurora Republic, the premier role-playing organization, Star Citizen. If you're new to the Aurora Republic or visiting for the first time, let me start by saying welcome. Glad to have you with us. Love to hear from you if you're interested in hearing more from us. We're a lawful good organization focused on roleplay exploration and social interaction, and are currently active in recruiting on Spectrum and Discord. Tonight, we're talking back at the beginning of basics. Gamespace setup, a primer for probably things to think about the space you game in, and what peripherals you might be able to use or want for playing Star Citizen with the Aurora Republic. So our objective tonight is just to familiarize you with what's out there and what you should maybe keep in your cross-check. Desk and chair considerations, what are the basic necessities, and both with the gaming rigs, what communication channels we use, and the controller and peripheral options that are out there. So with desk and chair considerations, do remember that you are going to be sitting there for, playing Star Citizen is not a quick thing. You are going to be sitting there for probably at least an hour, even if you just do any little thing in the verse. So comfort. Basic necessities, you will need a gaming rig and the ability to communicate through our communication channels. And then everything in the controllers and peripherals are basically options. So this is the realm of personal preference. There are a million choices for all those kind of things, and we will present those here at length. So we will be talking a lot of money type of stuff. You can blow a lot of cash setting this stuff up the way you want and all of that sort of thing. So the biggest caveat throughout all of this presentation, because I am going to be talking a lot of pricing for things, just to give you an idea of what stuff costs and where and what options are available to you. Please remember that the most important thing is that do not blow your budget. Don't break your budget. Don't spend any of the grocery money on silly stuff for Star Citizen, please. But other than that, I'm going to assume that you're a big boy, big girl. You can do what you want with your cash. That's why you earned it. It's yours. But please remember to don't break your budget. Okay. So yeah, like I said, desk and chair, the game space that you actually are going to play at needs to be comfortable, because you are going to be sitting there for quite a bit. Think about how your body is positioned and the ergonomics, therefore, so that you don't get any hot spots or cramped muscles or anything like that. Because, like I said, anytime you sit down to play Star Citizen, even if you're just going to do something quick in Star Citizen is at least an hour, almost always. Make sure you think about what space you've got in there. You are going to have to, move the mouse. You're going to have to type. So think about where those are at and where your arms are going to be and all that sort of position. And then think about all the other environmentals that a lot of times people don't necessarily think about. So light, sound, temperature, all the creature comforts. Where are you gonna, if you're gonna have a drink, where is that gonna be sitting? And if you were to accidentally knock it all over, what's underneath it? The last thing you want is your drink. You knock over your glass of water or whatever, and it goes rolling off the desk and down into the tower of your CPU. Things like that. Basic necessities. So this next section is things that absolutely have to be that are mandatory to play. But how you solve these basic necessities for playing Star Citizen is up to you. Which of course, first thing is a gaming rig. Now, Star Citizen is sort of a PC melter. Okay, so you do need fairly high-end tech to be able to get it to run anywhere near well. So the stated minimums on the RSI website is that a quad-core CPU, so it's Intel i7 or AMD Bulldozer or newer. 16 gigs of RAM, that's kind of a joke. Yes, it'll run with 16 gigs of RAM. You really probably 32 gigs is probably really a more realistic minimum. A DirectX 11.1 GPU with at least 3 gigs of RAM and 100 plus gigabytes of storage nowadays, because 4.0 is really big. And then, of course, a 16-bit OS. You do need a high-speed interconnection, and then, of course, you also need the game package. Those are mandatory. Our communications channels, specifically the primary communication channel or communication platform for the Aurora Republic is Discord. So you are going to need a headset or a mic of some sort. Please make it noise canceling, so the comfort for the rest of us, so that we don't hear everything else that's going on in the room and that sort of stuff. And then also think comfort, because it's going to be sitting on your head. If you are wearing a headset, yeah, it's going to be sitting on your head for like I said, it's going to be on there for an hour. So think about how it comfort. We do also, in addition to Discord, use SRS for in-game comm system whenever we're role-playing radios. There will be copious amounts of education on that at a later date. And we're looking to incorporate that more as we get our website and servers more functional. There is a future VoIP capability coming into Spectrum, so that the Spectrum app on the RSI website should be able to communicate in and out of the game. So even when you're not in the game playing, you could be talking through Spectrum VoIP capability into the game. So we will be keeping our eye on that and see if there's any sort of migration we want to do in the future as they develop that out, which is something that's more on the back burner for CIG, but they have talked to it many, many times over the years. All right, so all of that stuff is the necessities for playing Star Citizen and being part of the Aurora Republic. How you solve those are yours. Next, we'll talk controllers and peripherals. These are everything. This is the optional stuff. It's all personal preference. So what may work for one person may not work for another, and everybody will have their own way of doing it. And this is where we can start getting into a lot of silly outlays of cash for stuff. So we'll talk to that. So you do have what we call the oh-no situation, which is an overwhelming number of options. So you can get a bit vapor locked here when looking at everything. So do remember, nothing's mandatory. Everything is personal preference. What may work for me may not work for you. And if you do choose to buy some money or to buy something and put out money, do please do yourself the favor of looking for those deals, from Amazon and eBay and all those sort of things. See if you can get it for less. The pricing for everything that I'm going to show in here is all MSRP directly off of that company's website. So that is what the company says their stuff should be sold at. But that doesn't mean that you can't find it for cheaper if you do a little digging. So you'll also hear a lot of things about HOTAS and other BS acronyms with regard to gaming peripherals. Hands-on throttle and stick is what HOTAS stands for. It's a concept that was started shortly the late World War II and later, where they started mounting buttons and switches onto the actual controls of aircraft so that other systems on the airplane could be operated without the pilot having to take their hands off the throttle and stick. Everything in a computer is already hands-on by definition. So your mouse and your keyboard are hands-on. So don't get wrapped around the throttle when looking at peripherals about things being a hands-on this or a hands-on that. It's really sort of silly. I kind of wish people would stop talking about that. But that having been said, we'll start with Hokum for hands-on keyboard and mouse. This is the dominant control setup. It's the most popular because it doesn't require any additional purchase. Pretty much any tower that you buy or build almost always comes with a keyboard and mouse. And oh, by the way, Star Citizen was designed to work on primarily just keyboard and mouse. You shouldn't need any other peripherals to play it. They designed it that way. They designed the controls to work specifically for keyboard and mouse. So there are some of the best that swear by it in Arena Commander and all that sort of stuff. So that doesn't mean that what came de facto with your computer might be the best, keyboard and mouse for gaming. So there are, if you want to spend a little money, there are a million different gaming mice out there. Again, it all comes to personal preference. Any of the good gaming manufacturers that you've heard their names, Logitech, Corsairs, Razors, Steel Series, any of those all do great mice. I would highly recommend that you do a laser and optical mouse, no mechanical ball mice, but no balls there. And I would give serious consideration that if you are going to replace your mouse for a different one to play Star Citizen with, I would give serious thought to an MMO specific type mice, the ones that have additional buttons, such as the Corsair Scimitar that is pictured there, where they have those additional 12 programmable buttons underneath the thumb on the side there, because those additional buttons, if you are just simply using keyboard and mouse, might actually come in handy for some hands-on capabilities. Whether it's wired or wireless, this is really personal preference. A lot of people will argue that wired is faster, and you can actually scientifically show that. But the difference between a wireless mouse, the speed difference between a wireless mouse and a wired mouse is faster than human comprehension. So while you can scientifically prove that a wired mouse is faster than a wireless mouse, it's still faster than the eye can see and the human being can react. So it's moot. You know, it's like, hey, I'm at 0.9 the speed of light. I'm at 0.95 the speed of light. It's like, okay, it's still faster than I can comprehend. So me personally, I like the clean desktop, as the folks that were down here for the CitizenCon watch party. So they noticed that, you know, my keyboard and mouse were all wireless, so that I don't have wires going all over the place. That's a personal preference. Keyboard suggestion, same thing. It's all personal preference. Like mechanical versus membrane, clicky keys or quiet keys, whether you want the full-size keyboard or the 10 keyless or the 65% wired and wireless LED lighting, does not make things go faster. I don't care what you say. But if you do hate your money, you can actually check out, I would recommend checking out the Wooting 1 and 2. They're the same keyboard. It's just the Wooting 1 is the full size and the Wooting 2 is the 10 keyless. The reason is because they're the only analog keyboard in existence. They are actually also laser. So underneath each one of those keycaps, there's a little laser beam bouncing off the bottom of the keycap. So as you push the key down, that laser is measuring how far you're pushing the key down. So each keystroke is no longer digital on off. It is actually, you can push it a little bit and it'll give you a little bit, and you can push it a little more and it'll give you a little bit more of that key. So you can actually, WASD actually has analog to it. And it's the only, still even today, is still the only keyboard that does that. If you're not exactly sure what I mean by analog versus digital, analog in computer peripherals and stuff like that, digital just means it's on off, and analog means you have that million shades of gray, you know. So in the case of the keyboard, you know, if I right now, the keyboard that you have right now, that unless it's one of those Wootings, if you push your key at some point in the depression of the key, the switch goes from off to on, and that's it. So you either have, it's all or nothing. It's 100% or 0. Right. Versus on that Wooting one, like I said, you can push the key part way and it'll give you part, and you can push it a little farther and it'll give you a little bit more of whatever that command is. So where this comes into play is firing thrusters, the WASD space left control for whether it's ship or EVA. When you push D to sway right, it gives you 100% of whatever you have the thrust setting at. Now, in Star Citizen, you can control how much that value is with the scroll wheel. You actually you can adjust thrust limiters using the Alt key and the scroll wheel. But for whatever you have that thrust level set, when you hit that WAS or D key, it's all or nothing. It's either off or it's on. So the next one is HOGAM. So gamepad and mouse, hands-on gamepad and mouse. There are companies out here that are putting these little mini keyboards out that'll also have joysticks under the thumb, like a thumbstick, kind of like what's on your Xbox controller or PS5 controller. So those things basically plug in on a USB port. They're usually designed for the left hand for most people. Some of them are ambidextrous and can be the thumbstick can be moved to the other side so that so it could be used for a lefty who wants to use a left, their mouse in the left hand and the gamepad under their right. All the keys are programmable, so you can basically take the important keys from your keyboard and program them on the little mini keyboard portion, and then the thumbstick you can do any type of joystick type actions that you'd want to do in Star Citizen. Of all of these, there's about 4 that are out there. There's the Logitech G13, Belkin N52, Razer Orb Weaver, and the Razer Tartarus. The only one that actually has an analog thumbstick is the G13, which is why I would say that's the one that you would want to look at getting if this is the way you want to go. The other 3, the thumbstick is actually just digital. It's like the D-pad on your Xbox controller, so it doesn't gain you any of that analog precision. So pretty much it's, if you want to go this route, in my personal opinion, it's the Logitech G13 or nothing. You can always go use a game controller, Hog C. These have some definite pros. They do have dual analog sticks, which is fantastic. And the natural ergonomics of it puts you in a very relaxed body position, because consoles were made to kind of be played sitting on a couch and all that. So it is a very relaxed body position. And you can get these for your PC as well. The downside of them is they just simply don't have enough buttons. Like, you will map out all of the buttons, including with shifts and alts and all that kind of thing, onto one of these things and still not have like anywhere near even like half of the functionality that you want to be able to do hands-on without having to reach. So even if you're using a controller, you'll probably find out that you're going to still be using reaching over for the keyboard quite a bit. So like any Xbox controller for PC works. The Logitech F series, which is what's pictured here, any of those you can get. And if that's the way you want to go, if you really want to play with the game controller. Next one is hands-on keyboard and stick. I actually started out playing this way because I actually had a single joystick that was in my closet when I started playing. What was it, 8 years ago now? And so it's basically, it kind of works the same as the gamepad and mouse. Is, you basically have the stick for flight, use the mouse and the keyboard for FPS and EVA. Starts giving you into some immersion that you're actually holding a joystick for flying and that sort of stuff. And then you start getting into the full Monty type things, so hands on throttle and stick. So this is the most popular because it's starting to get more and more into immersion, where you're controlling more and more functions of Star Citizen basically without having to go to the keyboard and stick. For when you're flying, you're probably will still use a keyboard and mouse for FPS type of stuff. And then you can go full space nerd with the HODs for hands-on dual stick, and go for the 6 DOF, where you have a left stick and a right stick. Typically, most people will map all of the 3 rotational degrees of freedom on the right stick. For example, pitch, roll, and yaw, and then the 3 translational degrees of freedom, surge, sway, and heave, over on the left stick. And Bob's your uncle, man. Off you go. You can do full 6 degrees of freedom space flight capable, and just have a great time. Okay, so all of those were all of the different ways for control of your character, your spaceship, and EVA flight in Star Citizen. Which one of those you have to pick? One of those is required, but which one of those you pick is completely up to you. And they're all, in the grand scheme of things, it's completely Burger King. You can have it your way. So even if it's just the keyboard and mouse, so those are all they are your choice, but they're not optional. You're going to have to pick one. You're going to have to control the computer one of those ways. So everything from here on out, though, all of this stuff is completely optional peripherals that you could just skip completely. And they might enhance, having some of these things might enhance your experience playing Star Citizen, but they are by no means going to preclude you being able to play Star Citizen if you decide to save the money and just stay with whatever controls and peripherals that you're using right now. So and we're going to kind of go through sort of 3 tiers of quality and therefore price. So we'll start with the low end and work our way up to the high end. So sticks and throttles, quality on a budget. Quality is a little bit sort of air quotes here. Thrustmaster is probably the least expensive. And you can get one of their sticks for $80. This does have a twist axis on this FCS. They do have a throttle available where you can get it. And on the Thrustmaster website, they actually have packages. They have these packaged into packages as shown here. So the FCS HOTAS is the stick and the throttle. The full flight pack is a stick, throttle, and their crappy low end rotor pedals. And for a lot of years, you had to just buy 2 of these FCS sticks. And those FCS sticks are basically made ambidextrous. They come from the factory in a right-hand configuration, but taking out that one screw, which spins the palm base around 180 degrees, and you can take out one other screw, and the thumb rest moves you can move the thumb rest to the other side, making this into a left-handed stick. And then there is a switch on the bottom of the base that says, I'm a left-handed stick. And you just click that from right to left hand, and the internal electronics internally reprogram themselves to be in the left-hand configuration. You can literally do that in under 60 seconds, and they even give you the little Allen key or whatever that goes for the 2 screws. Literally takes less than 60 seconds to swap it from one side. So that was originally how you had to buy 2 separate of them and then convert one of them over into the left-handed version if you're going to do the dual sticks. And then Thrustmaster finally pulled their head out of their derriere and went, okay, we could just sell them both in a pack as a duo, which will save you a little bit of money. So it'll save you about $30 to buy their Sim Duo pack as $130 instead of $80 twice. And they will actually send those duo packs. They actually send the left-handed one from the factory already converted over for you in the left-hand configuration. So that's about the cheapest that I would go. There are less expensive sticks out there, but their quality is so bad that not only will they break very quickly, they will have such bad drift and inaccuracy, lack of precision, that you'll break them, or they just won't work to the level that you'll want them to work out of the box. So I wouldn't go any cheaper than these. These are where I would kind of personally, from my experience, I would say is probably about the bottom, the bottom amount of money that you'd want to spend if you're going to go into these. If these actually last really well, except for the twist axis, because you're likely to get excited when you're in a dogfight and you're going to twist and really reef on that, and your wrist has more strength to be able to snap the plastic on these things. The Hall sensor and everything in it is the same Hall sensor that they use in their higher end Warthog throttle and stick pack. So as far as the electronics and the guts of this thing, they use it's the same really good high-end Hall sensor and all that kind of stuff, but the shell of this is all made in plastic. So the twist axis on these, the people who have been running these, they have to learn to be, when they use the twist axis, to be ginger so that they don't break them. And I actually started out with having bought 2 of those and turned one of them into the left hand, and managed to keep them still operating for years and years and years by just being careful not to get too excited and really reef on it when you twist. In the middle ground kind of thing, you've got like the Logitech X52, 52 Pro, and 56 series. These are still being produced. They'll run you $180 to $250. So for the middle, there's quite a few folks who have been running these because they really like them as far as their kind of their layout and their design. They are some plastic parts, some metal parts, depending on which of these you're talking about. And they're a really good middle of the ground if you have a little bit more money to spend, and they're a little more rugged and will last longer. VKB has a set of high-end sticks, but they also recently, when I say recent, about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, also came out with their Gladiator NXT Evos line, which is aimed more for that middle ground. These are probably the best bang for the buck in my opinion. They have their Space Combat Edition Gladiator NXT Evo. The NXT Evo is the base, the grip that's on it. These $135 Space Combat Editions have a left and left. They come in both a left hand and a right hand version. The $175 Omni throttle is simply, they're identically the same thing as the Space Combat Edition grips, just with the addition of this little Z-shaped adapter already installed on it from the factory. You can also buy that adapter separately if you have one of these $135 Space Combat Edition Gladiator Evo NXT Evos. You can actually buy that adapter and convert them into that Omni throttle position, which just simply tilts that over at about a 45-degree angle. And those also come in both a left hand and a right hand edition. I only displayed the right hand one, but there's it's just mirror image that. And then within the last year, they put out their STEX throttles. I don't remember what STEX stands for. It's an acronym. But there are 3 versions of the STEX throttle. The smallest one, the $200 version, is what's pictured here. And as you go up in price, those 3, it's basically how big the base is with how much additional switches and stuff that are on the base. So how much control panel is around the base. The $200 one is pretty much just the throttle with, I don't think, any switches or maybe just this one like flap lever on the side. There's a lot of folks in the org that have these, and I've heard nothing but fantastic things about them. So, and with that pricing, I think these, I would definitely assess that for, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, these are probably the best value purchase per dollar spent, and should last forever. They do have a twist axis, so you do have full 6 off, all that, and you can even add in, like I said, you could add in throttle if that's what you wanted to spend your money on. All right, next we're going to get up into the hate your money level, and this is a little ridiculous because these pricing is exceptionally high, but Thrustmaster Warthog, all metal, F-16A10 stick. When they did the A10C upgrade to the Air Force's A10 fleet, they swapped out the old F4 stick grip that was in the A model, and they put the F-16 stick grip in its place. So the A10C has had the same stick grip as the F-16. So but there is no twist axis coming from the factory on this. These things are expensive, but they'll last forever. They're extremely precise because they do have the fantastic Hall sensors, and you can actually swap out sticks and or the grip. You can swap out the stick grip for some other things that Thrustmaster has on their website. I don't think I put them in, but they now also have F-18 stick grip. I mean, for the Warthog, so you can have the Warthog base and you can swap out and put the F-18 grip if that's what you want. And I think there's another one. I'm drawing a blank right now. But as you can see, they sell them both individually as the stick and the throttle, and then the set together. But they are expensive. So $550 for the set. So wow. Thrustmaster has also recently put out a Viper throttle, so it actually is a replica of the F-16's throttle. They have 2 versions. They have the the TQS and the just the Viper throttle and the Viper TQS. The TQS is the one that has the additional control panel down at the bottom, the partial control panel that has a gear lever and that kind of thing, has a slap switch and all that. So expensive, $350 for the one without the control panel and $530 for the one with the panel. What is Thrustmaster thinking? But they are, as far as I have not actually put my hands on these, unlike the Warthog. I've actually played around with the Warthog throttle and stick and know exactly how well they're built. I have not gotten my hands on this, but I'm assuming that they're, considering that pricing, I'm assuming they're also built at that same level. If anybody has touched one of these out in the wild, because they just came out about 6 or 8 months ago. Continuing on with Thrustmaster, they've also decided to go into airliner type peripheries as well. So if you want one of those, you can get the Boeing style yoke pack with the yoke and the throttle quadrant and all that, looking at like a 737 is the style there. Again, very expensive, $500 for just the yoke, $650 for the set. And then you can also get the Airbus version, which you'll notice that the base looks a heck of a lot like their FCS, but they just put a different grip on it, and they decided to charge $300 instead of $80. I guess you're paying for the Airbus name there. The set comes also with, or I should say, you can also get the throttle quadrant here, which is this centerpiece, and then for an additional $110, you can get this left and right piece for $110 for the both of them as a set. The whole thing together for $540 to look like an Airbus cockpit. Again, both of those don't have a twist axis, so you may want to think that your joystick will actually only be 2 DOF and not 3 DOF. Okay, so yes, VKB, while they do have that good middle ground Gladiator Evo NX or NXT Evo, they also have their Gunfighter 4 base and the grips that go with them, which is at that high end, hate your money kind of level. They have their Modern Combat Edition, which is basically to look like a flanker's grip, a Su-27 flanker grip, pictured on top there. That'll run you, depending on how you configure the base extensions. If you're going to mount this into a sim pit, and you want the base actually down on the floor, and then the grip on the end of basically a pipe, if you will, or a curved pipe, so that it comes up so like a center stick, like in a real cockpit. You can, depending on how you configure that, anywhere between $419 to $584 on that. The Space Combat Edition, similarly, you can configure that directly, that grip with the Gunfighter 4 base, everything in metal. That those actually can be configured left or right. And again, depending on how you want to configure it, do you want that, like I said, do you want it to be center stick with, with an extension, et cetera, anywhere between about $349 to $399, depending on how you configure it to have it come from the factory that way. And then, of course, my personal favorite, because this is what I'm running, is the Verpals, which are definitely high end. Pretty much all built, most of it's all built in metal. There are a few plastic pieces here and there, but they have a lot of difference. Again, they have a flanker grip stick. They have a throttle that they have 3 different options that'll run anywhere between $250 to $480 for depending on which throttle version you're getting. And again, it's the same throttle handles. It's just similar to the way VKB did for their stacks. They have basically a one that's just the throttle and the flap handles and none of the buttons. And then as you go up across their 3 options of price, how big of a control panel underneath the throttle do you want? For $210 per grip. You have the Constellation Alphas, and then they're newer for $290 per grip is their Primes. The Alphas and the Primes are identical, with the exception of the Primes have more RGB windows and stuff on them. So, and they've reworked some of the button caps and that sort of stuff. So, again, you can waste a lot of money here because, like I said, that's $210 just for one grip. So you need a left and a right. Okay, so that's $420, and that does not include bases underneath. So, which Virpil has two options there. They have their Warbird and then their T50CM3, which you can see there. So the Warbird is made specifically for you playing with the joystick sitting on your desktop, and the T50CM3 is made for being either built into a sim pit or mounted on like one of those desktop like arms that come down below the desk. So as you can see, if you're talking if you're talking having a left and right stick at the Virpil level, you're talking, if you go for the alphas but not the primes, that's $210 per grip. One left, one right, and you're mounting it into a sim pit like I did. That's $370 per base. There's two of those, so you can easily see you're way over $1,000 just in joysticks just to get yourself up and running if you are going to operate at the hate your money level. And oh, by the way, if you do hate your money and you want to kind of blow it like that, I also have a kid who's in college, so you can always feel free and give it to me. I would be more than happy to take it. Some additional add-on peripherals, things that add some neat functionality and immersion, but absolutely not required in any way, shape, or form. You can actually throw pedals onto here for an additional layer of immersion if you've got a HODS or a HOTAS setup. You can actually do HODS with pedals as well. It works fine. Some of these down here are quality on a budget kind of things, such as the TFRPs, the Thrustmaster Flight Rudder pedals like those. The CH products, if you can find them, because that company went out of business. And Logitech also has their Pro Flight Rudder pedals with these up here. Even their quality on a budget ones are a little bit expensive, and then you can get really ridiculous up here. Like I think these Thrustmaster Pendular rudder pedals right here, I think are $600. Yeah, there we go. I didn't mean to have that as a build. I just meant the prices to be there, but obviously I need to tweak that. So yeah, you can you're going to spend $130 to $170 for the cheap end, and then you can get kind of ridiculous if you want to go into nicer pedals. Virpil has VKB has theirs. This is what's actually $215. This is VKB's pedals right there, and then Virpil has 5 different offerings for pedals that range from $250 to $420. Game Glass. Probably nobody doesn't know about Game Glass if you've been around Star Citizen for very long. So basically, Game Glass allows you to set up a virtual button box on another device like a tablet or a smartphone, and it's a button box. It just emulates keystrokes with the visuals and sounds from Star Citizen. Game Glass has worked with Star Citizen, so I don't know if it's called licensed, but they're basically blessed by Star Citizen, and Star Citizen or by CIG, and CIG has shared Star Citizen graphics and all of that kind of stuff with them and licensed them to use them. So you can actually have the MFDs, you can have button box type control of MFD functions and ship functions, keybind functions, and it'll look like you're actually using one of the MFDs on the Game Glass, the Game Glass peripheral that you're using. You have to provide the tablet or the smartphone for you to run Game Glass on. But it will integrate directly into Star Citizen so that you can, back in the day when we had the power triangle, you could just reach over there and just drag your finger on your phone and move the power triangle around and all that kind of stuff. It is a subscription service. It currently costs $4.95 a month. They do give you 2 months free if you pay an entire year at once instead of monthly. So you can get it for, I think that brings the price down to like $4.19 per month if you do that. Elgato Stream Deck. Again, a way to do a button box non-virtually. I actually use these when I built my sim pit. because it was commercial off the shelf, and with the smallest amount of, you can, it's software, completely software programmable, software customizable. It's USB, it's plug and play, and it gives you a button box that you can assign buttons to do different functions in Star Citizen all you want. They have 4 different offerings. The Mini is the 6-button one. The Mark II is the 15-button one. The XL, I need to change that. That's not 15. The XL is 32 buttons. It's 4x8 going across. And then their Plus is their newest one, which has 8 buttons across the top. It has a touch screen in the middle, and they have 4 rotary encoder dials with push button functionality across the bottom, and you can see the prices there. So I use 2 XLs and 2 mine aren't the Mark IIs, they're the Mark 1s, but the first version of this 15, the 3x5. So I use 2 of the 32 button and 2 of the 15 button as my dash panels in my sim pit, just because it just makes it I didn't have to build switches and buttons. I just have, you instantaneously plug and play, have buttons available, and I can just configure how I want it in software. And it's the software is really, really user friendly, very simple to use. Thrustmaster control panel. This bit that goes underneath their throttle can actually be sold separately. It does come off, so $250, and you can have kind of this partial F16 left side panel with a stores jet button and gear handle and some additional buttons and switches and rotors and dials. VKP also puts out 5 different control panels. Some of these control panels are the same thing, just whether they're in a horizontal or a vertical format. So that's what the SEM versus the SEM-V. The -V just means it's the one in the vertical format. So like these 2 are the same panel, just whether it's in a horizontal or a vertical format. These 2 are the same panel, just whether they're in the horizontal or vertical format. They're actually very inexpensive, in my opinion. The top one, the GNX FSM-GA, the -GA means this one is really more designed for general aviation. So you're going to see buttons labeled on there that may not make sense to you unless you're a general aviation pilot, like Magnetos or autopilot, stuff like that. But then the others have gear handles and flap handles and all that kind of thing. So all of which is programmable, and they are USB plugins. Verbal also has 3 control panels offerings, number 1, number 2, and their universal control panel number 3, which is the one that has their newest one in it, and they put 4 levers in there that you can program to whatever you want them to be. They could be throttles, they could be flap handles, they could be thrust control, they could be all kinds of stuff. So number 2 is a landing gear handle built into it, along with flap handle to include landing gear, 3 down and lock green lights as well. And then control panel number 1 is just basically a whole bunch of buttons, switches, toggles, some of them guarded, and rotary encoders. If you have not seen VoiceAttack with HDS voice packs, these things are kind of fun. I would say go on YouTube. Noobifier did a whole bunch of demo videos of these things. It's great. It's basically software. It's kind of like text to speech. It's basically voice commands to create keystrokes and macros and all of that. There are automatic profiles that come from VoiceAttack for Star Citizen. And they get updated fairly regularly. So right after, they put out a new patch where they change up a bunch of the keybinds and stuff like that, your VoiceAttack profile, you can either go in and hand change your VoiceAttack profile for the new stuff, or you can wait like 2 weeks and then they'll put out, the VoiceAttack people will put out an update for the new stuff in Star Citizen. They've been pretty good about that over the years that I've had this available, even though I don't use it that often. The VoiceAttack software is fairly inexpensive, but then you can also add in the HDS voice packs, which will have famous voice actors your ship will talk back to you. So the voice attack software stuff is $10. It defaults to use the Windows voices natively when it responds to you. I believe it's also available on Steam now. And then the HCS voice packs can vary anywhere from about $8 to about $30. The HCS voice packs are actually a British company, so they charge in British pounds. That's why I said there's some variability based on exchange rate to the day. So don't hold these numbers to be super tight. Those are based on, I think, earlier in the week when it was about $1.50 to the British pound. So there is a huge amount of voice actors that are available for this. You've got so as you can see on the screen, the folks that are in blue are Star Citizen people, players and streamers and content creators that have that HCS voice packs decided to see if they would come in and do some voice lines for and all that kind of stuff. The yellow one is the newest one that they just added, and then the brown ones are the animals that they've done. So if you look through the list here, you'll notice there's a lot of Star Trek, some Babylon 5, and Doctor Who folks in here. So as far as the Star Citizen content creators, DJ Knight, Kate, Russell, Obsidian Ant, Nubifier are all voice packs you can get. Anna Dimitriou is the voice of Miss Babbage, right? So she's the voice of the hologram in Babbage, and then she's also Rowena Durley, you know, the agent that gives you the CDF missions. She's that voice as well. She's also in Anna Dimitriou is also in Squadron 42 voice acting in Squadron 42 as well. And she did a job. She did one of the Squadron 42 voice acting jobs, or she did Miss Babbage first. I think she did she did the voice acting job for Miss Babbage, and then people in her stream, she was playing other video games on stream, and people, her community started berating her for having gone and done a job for Star Citizen and Squadron 42 but not played it herself. So she started playing it and she got hooked. So she is a Star Citizen nerd like the rest of us, but she's also a voice actress in both Star Citizen and Squadron 42. So that's kind of stuff. You got Marina Sirtis is out there. You got Mira Furlan from Babylon 5, Leonard Nimoy, John Delancey, Claudia Christian from Babylon 5. You've got Michael Dorn. If you like Worf, Gates McFadden. If you like Dr. Crusher, you got William the fucking Shatner is out there. You got Brent Spiner. And within all of these, they also have settings for whether or not you want them to be clean or profane. And so just so you guys know that when I was playing around with this, I was running around with John Delancey as John Delancey's voice. That's Q, by the way, if you guys don't know who John Delancey is. John Delancey as my science officer on my Carrack, and I had him as Vulgar, and that dude is fucking hilarious because he just berates you the entire time, and it's hilarious. It's awesome. So and they do have functionality called Event Horizon that you can download from the HCS voice packs, where you can actually crew up to 6 voice packs as a crew. And it actually has like some automated functionality in there where you can go like, you know, hey, Karina, that's Marina Sirtis. Hey, Karina, you're my first officer, form a crew. And it will look through what voice packs you have downloaded, and she'll hear her over the comms start assigning people to different roles. You know, so and so you're the pilot, so and so you take science, you so and so you take tactical, so you take engineering, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then as the ship verbosity, as the ship would normally give you, the Aegis combat assist, shields down and that kind of stuff, instead of the manufacturer's voice bitching betting at you, you'll get these people coming through the audio system of your computer telling you these things as well in their way. So it's a pretty cool system. It does work. I actually don't use it anymore because I pretty much have the verbosity turned almost off. I have it down on low, so that also affects them. Some of these people they have lists as classified. I don't know why, but why they wouldn't credit who the voice is. But I did manage to figure out that Alpha, which is listed as identity unknown, by listening to the voice sample, I'm pretty sure it's Pedro Pascal from the Mandalorian. So,
hey, Fog.
Anyway, yeah.
I just wanted to mention the power management's working really good, and I've done custom commands too, like to bring up the display info and all that, and for reshade and things too, and it's working well.
Using VoiceAttack?
Yeah, along
cool.
with Shatner.
The Shatner.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I've got Marina Sirtis, Mira Furlan, John Delancey, Michael Dorn, and I think Nubafire. Is that 6? That might be 6. Is that 6? If it's not 6, I probably have somebody else in there. By the way, Ellen McLean, who does the voice of GLaDOS, and they, for her Delta one, she sounds as close as she sounds about as close as she can get to GLaDOS without them getting sued for IP infringement. Just so you know, it sounds like GLaDOS, but it's not perfect because I don't think it can be, or else they would. This one, Jupiter, is literally the dude who did HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey. I'm sorry, Dave, I can't do that. Anyway. Headsets. Any of the gaming headsets out there will probably all work equally well. Make sure they're comfortable. Make sure they're good. They give good sound quality for what you're listening to, and please have a noise canceling mic. Please, for the love of God, for the rest of us. Which one's personal preferences? Any of those mouse manufacturers, they make headsets too. So just look for a Corsair or a Logitech or a Razer or any of those, and they'll be about equally. If you're on a budget, about $20 will get you probably the Min functional. They may not last as long if you're only buying the $20 thing. Higher end, you can expend a little bit more money. I would suggest, even if you're got the money to expend it, I wouldn't go much over about $100 for them. There are some of these, the Steel series have some real like audiophile headsets that'll go up to like about $300. I think anything over $100, you're probably not getting more quality per dollar anymore. But you can operate on that $20 headset. It may not be as comfortable, and it may wear out a little faster, but I did a few of those at the beginning, and they last for about a year before they'd fall apart, and you'd have to just go get another one. Before I do have a headset backup. I have one of these Logitech series for about whatever it is, about $90 or $100. And it has been lasting me for, I don't know, 5-6 years now, still going strong. No problems. I do not use the headset microphone though. The microphone you're hearing me on is actually a different microphone. It's a desktop microphone for broadcasting, not the one that's on the headset. Head tracking. Just so you know, Star Citizen does do face over IP with a webcam. So if you have a webcam attached to your computer, then you can actually do face over IP. Even though the face over IP is in getting your character's face to move as you move your face doesn't necessarily work that great right now. And they've been making some improvements. It does add head tracking natively. So there's not you could very well argue that there's no reason for these other pieces of equipment other than they definitely work better than this native head tracking so far. If CIG eventually works the kinks out of them, that may make these obsolete, just so you know. The way the IR, the top two, works is they basically have sensors that tracks the reflectors off of the trapeze when it's bathed in an IR light. It moves the view of the monitor. It moves with your head, not your eyes, with the exception of the Tobii eye tracker. That works a little differently, which is the one on the bottom there. And those three players, you have Track IR, which costs about $150, Track Hat, which costs about $150. Track IR is the one that has the trapeze that's sitting off that you have to attach to your headset. And then Track Hat is just like it said, it's an actual hat. And then the other one is Tobii Eye Tracker 5, which is more expensive, but this this attaches to the bottom bezel of your monitor, and it's basically just bathing your face in IR light, and it can find your eyeballs, the corners of your mouth, and all that kind of stuff. And so as you move your head, it will move the view, and it can also do eye tracking as well if you turn that functionality on. I don't use it, and I don't know anybody who does, but you could have it put like a little fuzzy circle on the screen where your eyeballs are looking at if you were like streaming and you wanted people on your stream to see where your eyes are actually looking on the screen at. You could have it do that. Most people don't use that function. You can just turn that off in settings and have it only do head tracking. And we've got a little mini video down in here, which you can watch Yogi from CIG demonstrating, that without anything on his head, he's looking around his Connie there as he's flying, just moving the view just by turning his head, as you can see there. I have the Tobii Eye Tracker 5. It's fantastic. Cannot recommend it enough. So, and I've also used the Track IR. So, Jeremy over in the chat says that the face over IP doesn't really work with glasses. That's mostly true. I wear glasses. I have gotten it to work okay with my glasses. So as far as the face over IP, native face over IP, just using a webcam that exists natively in Star Citizen. I've gotten it to work okay in the past, but that's mostly true. Glasses do tend to give the face over IP a little bit of problems as far as expressions. I don't think it's given me any problems as far as head tracking. The Tobii Eye Tracker 5 does not care about my glasses at all. Does have zero functionality, or zero problems. I have my glasses on. I have my glasses off. Tobii Eye Tracker just freaking follows your head, man. It's pretty cool. And I've used Track IR. I used Track IR before I got the Tobii Eye Tracker, and I actually had them both set up at once where I could flip between them and see which one I liked for a short while. And I settled on the Tobii, just because I don't like wearing a headset. So, and with Track IR, you will have to have that trapeze attached to your head somehow, somewhere. So, AKA the headset.
And I've been using the phone head tracking for poor people, but it works well.
Yeah, was it called Open Eye or Open Track?
Open Track, yeah.
Open Track.
Put your phone on top of your headset, and it's free.
Yep. Hilarious. All right. There's no other questions or comments. Then that wraps up this installment of Academics of Foghorn. Hope you found it interesting and helpful. If you have any questions I didn't answer, please feel free to contact me via email, Discord, Spectrum, or of course in the comments section below. If you're watching this later, I'll answer to the best of my ability as soon as I see it. Please hit those follow and subscribe buttons as appropriate. Comment your comments in the comments. We actually do read them, and we love to mock them. You can find out more information about the Aurora Republic at our bespoke website, aurorarepublic.space, or of course on Spectrum at robertspaceindustriescom/org/Aurora Rep. I'll see you next time. Foghorn signing off, wishing you a very pleasant remaining of your morning, afternoon, and or evening. And thank you so very much for watching.